Hi guys, it's Olivia here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm going to give you the 8 reasons why you should read the Chaos Walking Trilogy by Patrick Ness. If you don't know, I read this series and I absolutely fangirled about it and loved it, so limiting myself to 8 reasons was quite hard, but I'm going to do my best by this series because it's wonderful and basically everyone should read it. So if you like to know what genre it is, it's kind of dystopian, sci-fi, futuristic young adult, and it follows, well, at least the first one is about Todd. He lives in this apprentice town, and in this town there are only men, and the noise is a thing. All of men's thoughts are told out loud all of the time. You can hear everybody's thoughts and you basically can't hide what you're thinking. However, he one day wanders off into the woods where he likes to go because there's not a lot of people, even though you can still hear your own noise, it's quite peaceful, and there he finds a girl, which is quite shocking because hey, there are no more girls left, and what's even weirder about this girl is that she has no noise and he cannot tell what she's thinking. Also in this world there are talking animals, and I just have to mention that the animals can talk because it's relevant for what I'm going to say in this video. So there you get the gist of what this one is about. A whole lot more stuff happens, and the point where you begin in the first book to where you get by the last book, it's quite shocking, that development, but as these are quite a few books, I'm going to put them down while I talk about the reasons why you should read this series. The first one is that this concept is so creative. Imagine a world where you could hear what other people were thinking all of the time, however it's only the men. Just imagine how it would be, and that creates a very interesting power shift, because as you go through this book you really get to think about feminism and masculinity, especially as the whole time Todd is almost becoming the age where you are a man, which in his world I believe is 14, which is, you know, different from our world, but he's almost there, and he keeps thinking about becoming a man and what makes you different from a boy to a man and all of this jazz. But then the girl comes in and she has no noise, and how they treat her because she has no noise is very interesting. So I think this one, if you want to deep dive into the feminism and gender and masculinity aspect of it, it would be very good. So the first reason why you should read this one is because the concept is so unique and amazing and just really lends itself to a lot of deeper thinking. The second reason why you should read this one is because the writing style is absolutely amazing. So when I first dived in, I didn't know that the writing style was going to be in the way that the characters speak. If, for example, yaw is spelled like this, or if you want to say creature, it's spelled like this, and the main character says ain't a lot because that's just how he speaks. And at first when I was reading it I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to read a whole book that's written like this? But kind of approach it as you would approach something like Illuminate, where the format is just a bit different and you just need to get used to it. And it just added another layer to the book, and I thought the writing style really did contribute and work well to telling the story. Thirdly, I fell in love with the characters. The characters are just so amazing and so well developed. And even secondary characters who you don't get that much time with, you still feel a deep connection to them, like Ben and Killian. Like, wow, I loved Ben and Killian in the first book, and you barely get to see them because things happen. But my other favourite characters are Todd. Todd is the main character, but I think he just develops so much throughout the book, and he just goes through so much strife that I want to hug him and protect him. If you meet Wilf, you will love him. He is just so peaceful, he is so steady-minded and just kind-hearted and pure. He's one of the like pure characters, and pure people like that in the world, that's all I have to say. Thirdly, I loved Manchi. He was my favourite character in the first book. If Manchi isn't your favourite character in the first book, you do need to like look at yourself and look into your soul, because if you don't like Manchi, what's wrong with you? And then I also really loved Davy Prentice, and that's all I'm going to say about that, but his character development was one that really impressed me. If we're going to be talking about this book, we have to talk about May Apprentice. May Apprentice is understandably and most definitely a villain in this book. There are some other characters in this book who could be perceived as villains but may not be perceived as villains, depending on your opinion and your values and things like that, which is another thing that I liked about this book, because it gives you some grey area to work with. Characters are not definitely good or bad. I actually felt that way about May Apprentice as well. He really does delve into the grey area a lot, but I do think he's one that you can personally like properly named to be a villain, and he just plays his role so well. He actually scares me and creeps me out because he is purely genius, because the way that he kind of manipulates other people and makes people feel is kind of what makes him so evil. I believe someone like him could become in power today, like in this day and age, because let's just face it, if we look at some of the politics in some of the countries, it could be plausible and possible. But yeah, he's one of those villains that have made my top 5 villain list because he's just so scary, because he's so intelligent and he knows what he's doing, and that is always something to contest with. And by the way, his storyline, like his development and what happens to him, mind blown by the end. But that's all I'm going to say on that, because we are not going to get to spoilers here. I do want to say what was my favourite theme in each of these books, because these books can be read very thematically, and I do think the themes make them so important. So in The Knife of Never Letting Go, I would say that the main theme is unlearning. Todd has been taught a lot of things and he needs to unlearn a lot of what he knows, and I think unlearning is something that is so relevant and so important to today that we really overlook. For example, we are taught a lot of things depending on your family, depending on your background and culture. You may have been taught homophobia, you may have been taught racism. I was taught that there are only 2 genders. You can be taught so many different things, but the important thing to know is that you can always unlearn, and people don't take the time to unlearn, which is why we have a lot of problems in the world, and people don't take the time to educate themselves properly. And of course, there is a lot of things about where can you get the right education, can you afford to get education, and those are all factors that do come into play. But Todd has a lot of unlearning to do in this one, and I really loved seeing how that theme kind of was playing throughout the whole book. Then when you get to the ask and the answer, I do think the theme here is power and also fighting back, like protesting, or even in an extreme case, war. And it shows the different ways that you can fight back, and it's up to you to make up your mind what are the good ways to fight back and what is a bad way to fight back. Like, where do we draw the line? Because yes, you can protest, but when do you need to start using violence? Should we ever be turning towards violence? And I think that this book does a very good job of discussing that. And in the third one, I would say forgiveness and peace. I'm not saying that there is forgiveness in this book. I'm not even saying that there is peace in this book. But it's something that a lot of characters have on their minds. Whether they manage to achieve it or not, that is in question. But I just feel like it really handles that topic very well, especially with a particular character's storyline, but no spoilers. But yes, I just think the themes are what really make these books very good and ones that you can deep dive into. We also need to take a moment to talk about the plot. Patrick Ness knows how to write fast-paced action scenes. Patrick Ness knows how to write good travel book, because the first book they travel a lot because they're running away from something, and I was never ever bored. The pace was always fast, and he knows how to write the best cliffhangers. For example, I read these books back to back, and I read the middle one, this one, the ask and the answer, in under 12 hours. That is how fast-paced and wonderful these books really are, and his writing is just so good. He really knows how to write, so there's no question as to whether these books are well written or not. We also need to talk about how the romance takes a back seat, and when I say back seat, I think it's not even there. A lot of the time you think that if it's going to be a male main character and a female main character, there has to be a romance. And although romance does come into the play a little bit, what this book does very well is that it puts their friendship that forms at the forefront, and that's what you see throughout the majority of the books. In the second book in particular, The Ask and the Answer, you get to see how these characters don't always have to be together. And I really appreciate that in young adult. A lot of the time, if you have a male character and a female character who are either love interests or best friends, they always have to be together throughout the duration of the book, even though it doesn't seem very plausible for the plot for them to always be in scenarios together, and for them always needing to be fighting together or going through this battle together. Quite tired of it. But I feel like in this series, Viola and Todd spend quite a lot of time apart from each other, not even together. They're kind of in different places and they're going through different things, and I think this book does that very well, because you don't need to force your characters together if it's not necessary for the plot. And the last 8th reason why you should read this book is because you are going to fangirl just as much as I did. And that's all I have to say. If I haven't convinced you to read this series yet, I've rated every single one of these books 5 stars, then I don't even know what I can tell you to convince you. It is brilliant. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you have read the Chaos Walking trilogy, and what do you think of books which the writing style is the speech and the way that the characters talk. Do you like that in your books, or do you not like that? Thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't you forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!